Welcome to Homestead, Mississippi. Today, I'm going to tell you some of the basics of dairy farming with dairy goats. Hope you enjoy this. Let's get right to it. So you've decided to open up a dairy farm, or you just decided to have milk for yourself. Now you have a choice to make. Do you want dairy cows or do you want dairy goats? Dairy cows, they're large. They take up large tracts of land. They take up more feed. It takes a longer period of time to produce baby calves and to get your dairy cow in milk. Dairy goats, smaller, less feed, less room, less time to reproduce and to produce milk. With the dairy goats, I have a Nigerian dwarf. She just passed me by right here. They produce less milk, a whole lot less milk. However, if you have 2 or 3 of them, you can get more milk out of them. If you need income, you can always sell their babies. If you choose dairy goats, then you have the choice to make of which kind of dairy goat. So today we're going to discuss dairy goat farming with dairy goats. 2 of the first and most basic needs, obviously, for dairy goats is a shelter and a place for feed. This little fella is a Nigerian dwarf. He's young and he's a handsome little buck. Feed, veterinarians will tell you it's much better to give your goats more hay and roughage than it is to feed them pellets. I know many people just continuously go and buy pellets. However, for their health, it's better for them to eat natural feed. Hay. You'll need some means of getting and keeping hay readily and available for your dairy goats. I've done them hay manger. You can find many types of ways to store hay or to feed hay to your goats on YouTube or on Google. Just look them up. Plenty of ways to get hay to them. Now, as far as a housing, you can go and purchase yourself something. You can purchase a shed, turn that into a little house, or you can build something out of wood, a roof, and just sides. Let them go in and out. Preferably, you don't want it to face the north, to keep the north wind in the winter off of your goats. That way they can be in and be sheltered from the cold. Now also, maybe you have a barn. You can hook up heat. Really treat your goats nice. Not necessary. They're hardy animals. A lot of them live up in the mountains in the snow. So these type here, they're pretty good. This little fella, he's a hardy one. Another basic need. There are many different types of fencing. You're gonna have to contain them. You can't just let them run around. Depends on where you are in a city, I guess. But around here, we use this electric netting. This works great. See my fig trees? Let me share with you something I quite honestly had to fight with just yesterday. Our La Mancha, look at that full bag of milk. She decided that she didn't like the dog wire, so she went over it. And she was eating my fig trees. Fencing's important, not only to keep them in, also to keep them away from what you don't want them to get to. There's poisonous plants that will kill your goats, so you need to keep them contained properly. Dog fencing, they'll go over. You'll always, almost always, have to include some sort of electric fencing. Not necessarily always, but a lot of times. In this instance, they could see those fig trees and they're gonna get to them. Therefore, I had to make some adjustments in this electric netting. Barbed wire is a good way to keep them contained. They won't try to go over barbed wire. Then again, they may very well try that as well. But go to your local co-op or somewhere that they sell your fencing. Talk to them. They can tell you what works best in your area, or just experiment. I love the electric netting. It works great. It's temporary. I can move it on a daily basis, or I can make it slightly permanent and just leave it. So what's next on the list for your dairy farming basics? Well, kind of next, but not next. One of the first ones it should have been was water. You have to keep good, clean water for your goats. They have to drink. Basic need for dairy goats. A milking stand. Have to have a milking stand. You can do it from the ground if you want to, but it's much more difficult. You can purchase one of these online, Google, or build it yourself. But you've got to get a milking stand. That's a necessity. Really basic necessity for milking dairy goats. Now, you got another choice to make. Milk by hand or get you a machine. When choosing to milk by hand or using a milk machine or a pump, it's going to really be based on your personal choice. I mean, what do you want to do? And it's going to depend on how many goats do you have. If you have 1 or 2 goats, it's not going to make a lot of sense to make a huge purchase of $250, $300, $1,000 for a pump. If you're just milking for your family and you're just getting a little bit of milk, you may not want to make a large purchase. Then again, maybe you have some issues with your hands, maybe arthritis or something else that you can't go out and you can't milk by hand. So you may need to purchase something. That's okay. This is a dairy goat milk pump here. Real nice contraption. But you notice you've got the motor and the pump and all the tubes. Well, are you going to milk in the same location every day? Or are you going to go back and forth? Are you going to carry this machine back and forth? Honestly, you're going to want to be in a barn inside a sheltered location where you can set this up and leave it. That way you can bring the goats in every day to the same location, use the pump, let them go out, and then take the parts that need to be cleaned out and take them in and clean them. Otherwise, you're going to have to carry all of that back and forth. That gets old. Now, on the other hand, milking, all you do is take the little metal container back and forth with you, fill it up, take it in. A lot easier. But if you got 10 goats, you're gonna want a little milking station inside. So milking by hand, there's a trick to that. Now, a lot of folks, myself included, I used to think you just grab it and squeeze and pull down and just let your fingers slide down like this. Well, that's not the proper way of milking a cow or a goat, quite honestly. You actually have to take your fingers and work it down using your fingers. Like that. That's the proper motion. Also, making sure that the teats are clean, free of poo or any other things. Clean them good. Most folks, my wife included, they'll shave around the area. Clean it off real good. Not a shaving blade like a man's razor, but trimmers. Trim that hair, get it out of your way. Take some udder balm, work it in, make sure they're nice and smooth, and then when you go to milk, again, this motion here with your fingers, not a squeeze down. Now we're going to demonstrate for you how that's done. Basics of dairy farming and milking a milk goat. Clean the teats before you get started. A nice stainless steel milk bucket. A beautiful milk goat. What are you waiting on? The feed. Notice her fingers. She's just not pulling down. She's working it. Excellent milk goat. Here's our other two mamas. Abigail and Beezus. Nigerian, Nubian, and La Mancha. You know, she's La Mancha because of her ears. Big ears, huge ears. No, baby ears. She's got the big ears. All the babies. Some are milk goats in here, some are not. Most of them are females separated from the males. Males are over in the pasture. Pour the fresh milk through a filter, and it filters into the bottle. For reference, Mima has been milking 2 of the goats. We're a family of 7. Octavia is 2. The boys are 8 and 9. The girls are 13 and 17. And then Mama and myself, we've been drinking milk, just this milk. She's been milking and getting a little over half a gallon a day just from 2 of those goats. This is half a gallon. So we are able to stay ahead of our milk consumption of 7 people just with 2 goats. So right now we have a gallon, well, a minimum of a gallon and a half. We use this for our coffee, we use it for our cereal and everything. Dairy goat milk. Right here. We have a total of 7 females, and once they're all giving us milk, we will be selling milk. Once you have your milk, got it in a container, you get it inside, you pasteurize it, or you don't pasteurize it. Maybe you want it raw. Let's say you get to tasting it. Maybe it's got a little flavor to it that you don't like. Let me tell you why. The reason you get the flavor in milk that you don't like is simply because the males urinate on everything. Themselves, the females, everything. And the smell of that gets in to the milk. If your goat milk tastes very much different from cow milk, majority of the time, you need to remove the males from the same pen. Goat milk doesn't taste very much different from cow milk, and it doesn't have a strange flavor. The strange flavor is simply when someone has male goats and with the females. It's really that easy. Try it. Hope you've enjoyed this episode from Homestead, Mississippi. Hope you are learning some dairy goat basics. Hope this was informative and that you're able to gain some insight on what it means to become a dairy farm. Of course, with dairy goats. That's not to say that we haven't done dairy cows, because we have. But our choice and our love are dairy goats. We have La Mancha, we have Nigerian Dwarf, and we have Nubian. We love our dairy goats. Hope you've enjoyed this. Please be good to each other. Be blessed. Y'all have a wonderful day. Come back to see us.